Alright, I know I'm late, it's like February or March or something, but this is my list of the top 10 games I played in 2024. I was gonna do top games and movies, but honestly, I don't have a lot to say about most of the movies I saw. Just go watch Hundreds of Beavers, that's the end of the movie segment. Alright, let's talk about the fish game. Nintendo released a bunch of big games in 2024, and the only one that I picked up was the one where you take pictures of fish. Can you blame me? Right away, I have to say this is a big downgrade from the Endless Ocean games on the Wii in a lot of ways. Fish don't really interact with you at all, they just kind of exist. There's technically a story mode, but it's not like the last game, it's super bare bones, and there's a ton of grinding to even unlock more story missions. If I'm being honest, this game's kinda bad. But you know what, for a few short hours, it really was a great time. Just swimming around this open ocean, finding new fish to take photos of. This is what gaming's all about. There's a bunch of fun filters so you can take the most terrifying, hellish photos of these little undersea demons. I had a blast just taking the absolute worst pictures of fish that I possibly could. I think overall, it's a pretty disappointing experience, but I still had fun with it. But now let's talk about a real game, because a new Super Monkey Ball came out. I'm no good at these games, and they kinda give me motion sickness, but I've always had a huge soft spot for this series. They're a lot of fun. Banana Rumble was a pretty good time. It's not breaking new ground or anything, it's kinda just more Monkey Ball. But this series was dormant for a good while. I've been enjoying this recent resurgence. It's nice to see this level of effort and ambition going into Monkey Ball again. The best thing that this game has to offer are the different little outfits I can dress up my monkeys in. Mimi just looks so cool here. I mean, great level design is there, and that's a nice bonus, but monkey dress-up game is what I'm really here for. They added a bunch of other characters too, Godzilla, Among Us, they put Hatsune Miku in a ball. These are cool, but I've always preferred to just play as the monkeys. The most exciting collaboration here is that they brought back the Dole Bananas, an important part of Super Monkey Ball's legacy. I also played Ufouria the Saga 2. I had never heard of this franchise and bought it because it looked funny. And yeah, it's pretty funny. I really don't have much to say about it. It's a standard 2D platformer, and it's extremely easy, but it's also just so cute. I adore this art style, the bouncy music, all the goofy little characters. There's 4 little guys you can play as who all have different abilities for level navigation. They're just all so adorable. Gameplay-wise, this is nothing special. It controls well, it's fun enough, but the game really gets a huge boost just from vibes. I think putting a collection of video games into a top 10 list is kinda cheating, right? If collections were included, then the Fancy Pants Adventures Classic Pack was my favorite game of the year. The games included here are fantastic, but the package itself is pretty standard. It's just the games. Marvel vs. Capcom Fighting Collection also has some really great games. I had been playing a ton of Marvel vs. Capcom 2 on Dreamcast the year prior, and just being able to play it online would have been enough to make this worth it, but that one game's inclusion isn't why it made the list. The actual collection does something really special. For online matchmaking, you can choose which games you want to play, and if you turn all of them on, you're getting a random online match not even knowing what game you're gonna be playing. This specific feature made this one of the funniest games I played in 2024. Like, I could randomly get Marvel vs. Capcom 2, where I know who I'm picking, but I might end up getting matched in a game I've barely played and don't know the characters in. X-Men vs. Street Fighter? Tron's not in this. Shumagorath's not in this. I guess I'll be Rogue? I don't know, sure. Just the concept of a competitive fighting game where you don't even know what fighting game you're gonna be playing until the round starts is so fun. In Marvel vs. Capcom 1, me and my random opponent both picked Roll, and we just spent the entire match not playing the video game. We rematched over and over doing the same thing. We spent like 30 minutes doing nothing. This is just peak gaming. Great collection. What would happen if you combined Peggle with Slay the Spire? I would lose 65 hours of my life, that's what. Peggle is extremely addicting. It's so simple, you just throw orbs to clear pegs, clear more pegs to do more damage to monsters. We can get relics that give you buffs, different orbs have different effects on the pegs or the monsters. Once you know what relics and orbs are overpowered and can break the game, Peglin is extremely easy to run through. But even once you hit that point, it's still really fun. This was one of my most played games of the year, but I think it's the one I have the least to say about. Funny goblin game. A game I have a lot more to say about is Dr. Robotnik's Ring Racers, a free fan-made Sonic kart racer that was built off of another Sonic fan game or something. I don't know the whole lore of this game's existence. Daniel Dapple kinda just told me to download it. This is a very complicated game with a lot of different mechanics, meaning I'm absolutely terrible at it. I was literally stuck in the tutorial area for like a month and had to have multiple people try to walk me through it. Look, I'm bad at video games. For a racing game where I'm regularly in dead last not knowing what's going on, I think it really speaks to its quality that I still play it and have fun with it. All my friends are going crazy fighting in the front and I'm just kinda going whee here in the back. It's really fun to control, there's a lot of tracks, and like half of them are a ton of fun. One of my favorite things to do in a video game is customize my character, and there's a ton of characters too. You can collect little follower buddies and paint cans hidden on each of the levels to unlock custom colors for each character. Paint cans are really fun to collect, especially trying to get them in very unconventional ways. This is a really hectic game, and a lot of my enjoyment has just been from watching the chaos unfold. At the start of each race, I always try ramming people into the start line, or in the middle of the race, I'll just sit in the middle of the track and wait for somebody to come by. The battle mode is especially chaotic, and I really enjoy that as well. It's really nice just having a game like this that a whole bunch of us can play together. Lobbies aren't limited to 4 players or anything like that, everyone can fit in a room at once. We don't have a ton of games like that, so this has been a really fun time. They also released a new official Sonic game this year too. Well, half of this is a new game, the other half is a Sonic game from 2011. And to be fair, Sonic Generations is still fun over a decade later. It hasn't really changed, this is the same game, but if it ain't broke, don't fix it, right? The other half is a new game, Shadow Generations, and yeah, this is also really fun. I thought it would just be Sonic Generations, but again, a couple extra levels with Shadow, but no, this is actually a pretty full game that plays pretty differently. He's a little slower, but has a double jump. I feel like I have a lot more control with Shadow. I really like how he plays. Sonic Generations did this really cool thing where they took bad levels from other Sonic games and made them really good. Shadow continues that trend. Rail Canyon actually functions this time around, and the new Kingdom Valley is one of my favorite levels in a 3D Sonic game. You know what? Shadow's just cool. I don't need an excuse to like this. I love when Sonic stories take themselves so seriously. When the games aren't making jokes at their own expense and do stuff like this without any trace of irony, they are so much funnier. This game is so stupid in the best of ways. Maybe a top 5 Sonic game for me. But, alright, look, I know what you're gonna say. Tad played Atlyss, the furry roleplay MMO, and, yeah.
But it's fun!
I don't know about some of that stuff, but this game is otherwise extremely fun. It's like Spyro the Dragon crossed with Phantasy Star Online, which is the most me combination of things. No amount of whatever this is can steer me away. Most of my time with Atlyss was spent playing alone because all the public servers are named stuff like this, and I think my friends would beat me to death if I asked them to play this with me. The fun of Atlyss, for me, is the movement and combat. You can zoom around so fast, fly around spinning your sword through enemies, countering their attacks. It feels so good to control. It can get pretty hard playing alone, but I found that you can just kind of use your aerial spin attack through waves of enemies, run away, turn around, and repeat that until they eventually die. And the main hub, you can climb all the way to the top of this thing, and it was like I was back in 2008 climbing to the top of the treehouse in Fusion Fall. All I need from a game is a cool environment for me to just run and jump around. Atlyss's world has such a cool vibe. I love just running around and exploring, seeing what all I can climb, encountering different enemies with such good designs. This is a fantastic game to play completely offline. The Legend of Zelda Philips CDI games were critically despised when they came out. People hated these games, but through internet memes, they've become beloved throughout the years. So much so that they've gotten a spiritual successor. That by itself is pretty funny, and the joke is only made funnier by this game actually being extremely good. Arzette, the Jewel of Faramore, is somehow great. A really fun platformer where you explore to collect items and upgrades, fight monsters, find secret areas, and anytime a cutscene starts, you know you're about to witness the craziest thing you've ever seen in your life. I was worried that they might not be able to make new scenes that live up to the madness of the CDI games, but they really do them justice here. They brought back the original voice actors for Link and Zelda, which is just incredible. There's even a Hotel Mario reference in the bonus levels. Arzette is a wonderful love letter to some not-so-loved games, but I think it holds up well as its own experience, too. And now, for my favorite game that released in 2024. A game that might be up there amongst my favorite games of all time. Crow Country is a masterpiece. This is a survival horror game following Mara Forrest as she explores and uncovers the mysteries of Crow Country, this abandoned amusement park. I've never really gotten into survival horror games before this. I tried playing the first Resident Evil a while back and always just kind of figured this sort of thing wasn't really for me. I was wrong and also stupid. This is such a good, beginner-friendly survival horror game. Because there's an exploration mode. It's the horror without the survival. Most of the enemies are removed. I was able to play through the game, falling in love with the story, the characters, the atmosphere, the puzzles, the setting, the soundtrack. I loved every second of this game. Typically, when I finish a video game, I'm like, alright, that was cool, and then move on to play something else. The second I finished Crow Country, I started another save file in survival mode. I never do this. And of course, adding enemies in changes the game so much, and there's some truly great disgusting little guys in this. This game was so good, it tricked me into trying a genre I always thought I'd hate. And oops, I didn't hate it. The art style is so good too. It looks like it kind of has a PS1 aesthetic. Like it looks pretty similar to Final Fantasy VII or something. But there's a big difference. Those were pre-rendered backgrounds. These are actual environments that you can move the camera around. This isn't mimicking what PS1 games looked like. It's bringing to life what we thought they looked like back in the 90s, and results in an art style that I've never really seen before. I could talk about this game for ages, but I really don't want to spoil it. Go play it right now. Those were my top 10 favorite games of 2024. There's a lot of stuff I didn't play and need to play eventually, but what am I excited for in 2025? Ultimate Sheep Raccoon is a sequel to one of my favorite games ever. I'm really looking forward to this. The Evil Pac-Man game? Yeah, I really want to play the Evil Pac-Man game. This looks funny.